Hi there, Hannah here, also known as Singing Hin. Wow, well, March has flown, and this week is the last week looking at our theme of speech in celebration of World Speech Day, which was on the 15th of March. So this week, it's really pulling together everything we've looked at so far. We've looked at the International Phonetics Alphabet, focusing on sound, throwing aside everything we know about written language and focusing on the sounds that we are making when we speak. Week 2, we looked at voiced consonants, those consonants where you're vibrating at the level of your larynx, rather than, as was on week 3, where you're focusing on here and there's no sound at the level of the larynx when we were looking at unvoiced consonants. We looked at the pairs voiced and unvoiced through that. So what are we going to talk about this week? Well, I'd like to pull all of that together for you into a synopsis of the month. So then, people often tell me that I sound posh. For anybody who knows me, you will know that that is absolutely not the case. And actually, if you start listening to what I'm saying and how I'm saying it, you'll hear that there is an accent. It may not be something that you recognize as a specific accent, and that's because I've lived abroad, I've lived here and I've lived there. So I've picked up different things from different areas that I've lived in. So it's a very weird accent, although there's some definite northernisms in there because that's where I'm originally from and that's where's home for me. But it's not recognisable as Geordie, it's not recognisable as Welsh, and it's not recognisable as being South African. So, what is it? It's an amalgamation of all of those, but it's not posh. What you're hearing is the fact that I actually speak clearly and in such a way that you can understand, hopefully, every word. And that's what I want to talk about this week, pulling together everything else on how important it is, now that you know what these sounds are and how they work, and how important it is to make sure you are clear in saying those. Recognise those sounds and make sure you're using them. The best way to do that is to move your mouth. And if you watch back all of my videos in the past, you will see that I'm moving my mouth. You don't notice it in as much as it's just me, it's just how I am. But if you actually sit and watch, there's a lot of mouth movement. And if you go back and do a video of yourself or just watch yourself in the mirror or on a Zoom meeting, see how much your mouth moves around all the different sounds. This isn't about being posh. This isn't about received pronunciation. This is about your accent, your sounds, but making them clear. So again, I have quite a distinctive U sound when I say the word to quite often, and that is quite South African, but it's mine. I lived there. So I'm not afraid to use it. Use it, there you go, there's another one. It's not use, which would be more northern. It's a little bit more South African, which is, again, as I say, what makes it a weird accent. But I'm not afraid to use those sounds. I just make sure that I'm clear in what those sounds are when I'm speaking to other people. So I want you to go, grab a mirror or put your Zoom on or put your photo booth on if you've got a Mac, or whatever it is. Get something that you can reflect an image of yourself upon. Read something or speak to yourself and see how much your lips move. Go and have a chat with your best mate. See how much their lips move. And it's not just about the lips moving like this, it's about opening the mouth. Ideally, you want to be able to get a finger in here when you're opening your mouth. Now, obviously, you're going to be closing your mouth, so it doesn't always work. You might bite your finger. But the idea is that when your mouth is open, you've got at least this space. And notice when I'm creating sounds, I'm smiling a lot of the time and opening that mouth. An E sound has to be E. If it's anything less than here, it becomes E, E, E. You might recognize it as the sound E, but it's not an E, it's a completely different sound. In fact, that sound was a Swedish E almost. It's about recognizing different sounds as they are, as opposed to the sounds that you are expecting to hear. You might know that E is E because I'm saying tree, but I'm not saying tree. Do you see the difference? E. So go away, have a play with those, and come back and let me know what you think. Okay, one last thing. This letter here, we call it a schwa. That's its name. Don't ask me why. That letter is a central vowel. Now, I haven't really gone into it very much, and I don't really want to get into those technicalities, but each vowel sound that we have is in a different place in our mouth. If you think of an A, it's quite far back, as opposed to an E, which is further forward, and we're moving our mouth in a different way to make those sounds. Now, a schwa is what we call a central vowel. That's the teenager grunt, and we use it quite often. Computer, printer, and I use it as much as the rest. However, it's a mumble vowel as well, in that when we're not moving our mouth very much, what we're actually doing is moving back to that central sound. Computer, rather than computer. And again, I didn't use a received pronunciation computer. I didn't go that far, but I did create a difference in those vowels. Computer or computer, all the same vowel. Why am I telling you this? All I want you to do is be a bit more aware of this central vowel, this sound, and when it's used. There's a really great tongue twister, which I can't remember all of it, but it goes along the lines of Betty bought butter, but the butter was bitter. So Betty bought better butter, so the better butter wasn't bitter. Something like that. If you don't bother moving your mouth, that is all going to become Betty bought butter, but the butter was bitter. So Betty bought better butter, so the bitter butter was better. You can just about hear it. And you can just about distinguish the sounds. They are slightly different, but nowhere near as much as if I moved my mouth. Betty bought butter, but the butter was bitter. And actually, if you're wanting to practice these tongue twisters, moving your mouth is a much better way to help you do that, because it means your brain knows where you are in that tongue twister. One final one for you then. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. A peck of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper, where's the peck of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked? Only because my brain knew where I was, because I was moving my mouth. If I tried to mumble that, I would have fallen off long before. You guys take care. Give me some comments below about what you think about. Do you mumble? Do you use words correctly? Do you feel you don't like your accent? Love it. It's a great accent. It's yours, nobody else's. Comment below. Thank you so much for watching this month's speech, and be sure to make use of the offer before it ends on speech lessons. Take care, all the best.